Fans, welcome back to the Coaches Show. Nick Merrick here with head coach Al Rooney. The boys are back in town, but it wasn't very long. It was a trip up to Blaine, Minnesota for the NE3HL Showcase, and then a weekend in Topeka. 6 games since we've seen you back here in Brahmas. Before we get into the game action, what was it like for the team, going on the trip, having super long bus rides, trying to get comfortable, on the bus all the way up, and what is that, a 16-hour ride to Minnesota? And then you even being able to enjoy some of the winter weather. I know you guys went to the Mall of America, I think, in Blaine.
It was a good trip. It was one where it was long enough where some team bonding, guys definitely got to know each other at a different level, but we certainly were ready to get home at that point. But it was definitely a good trip. We're also, here at Brahmas, we're definitely blessed with a good bus, a comfortable bus, as opposed to most teams in our league. So the bus ride was fairly comfortable. There's 12 bunks and some couches, and so we had a lot of fun. It was a good time for me as well to kind of get a little bit closer with the boys and spend some more time with them away from the rink as well. So it was good.
Well, the bus is pretty impressive, too. We'll probably demonstrate it later on after the New Year's. But while we're on that subject, obviously the boys are going to be using that bus again to go to Point Mallard. That coming up later in the show. But I know there's like a coaching corridor up front that, coach are allowed to go in. But obviously it's a wide open bus. You mentioned the couches, and there's even TVs in the back behind the bunks. How often did you get to go back and kind of chat with the team or have a word there? Was it just strictly business, let them be the guys, and you were kind of up front dealing with some scouting stuff?
For the most part, I ventured into the way back maybe a couple of times. For the most part, I try to police myself as much as possible. I know I'm a fairly intense coach, let's put it that way, and so I definitely want to try to pick my spots and give the guys some room. So I kind of try to respect their space as much as possible. There's a couch and card table up front. I generally stick to up there. This way I can communicate with Jim, the bus driver. But it's funny because after wins, everybody's jollying on the bus, and after losses, I notice I have a little bit more room on the bus. Funny enough, the guys tend to kind of go more towards the back. So that was kind of joked about on the way home from Topeka because everyone was crowded up front and sit with me, and we were all talking and joking, and so we were mentioning how if we would have lost that last game, I might have been sitting up there by myself.
Well, I know the expectations obviously were huge for Blaine, Minnesota. It was a great chance to the showcase. You're going to have to talk to me a little about just the showcase atmosphere of seeing finally different teams than the Southern Division. But ending it on a high note. A quality win before heading back down to Topeka for the 3-game series. What was the Blaine, Minnesota atmosphere like? It
was excellent, and when we first got there, it's definitely a good experience for the guys. For the newer players, it's definitely an eye-opener as far as it's a good. We always talk about how they're being watched, but now it was there firsthand. Guys in the stands with notes, with clipboards. It's not like, okay, these teams are looking at you through fast hockey. Now here's the proof, right here. There's about 12 guys up there with clipboards, and some guys are more comfortable than others with that, and that's, the cream rises to the top, not only individually but team-wise as well. With regards to our performance, I think the first game probably was the only game I was really disappointed in the whole trip, because I think we came out a little flat. I don't think we played to our capabilities. The other games, even in defeat at times, we play to our capabilities. You make a couple of mistakes, the other team, makes you pay, then you tip your hat to them. But that was a game where I just don't think we demonstrated what we're capable of. So the second game, I think we outplayed our opponent. We just made 2 crucial errors, both having to do with line changes, and they scored on both. And take away the empty netter, they beat us by 1 goal. So that's the difference in the game. And then, as you said, the third game, the guys were focused. We played with a short lineup, and we dominated. It was by far our best game of the week, and heard from some guys at the upper level about some of our players. So hopefully opportunities start to kind of roll from here.
Well, to the credit, too, is a half a day of traveling up to Blaine, Minnesota for that Friday game. Sure, they had 1 day to kind of acclimate themselves, but they played against the Alexandria Blizzard, who are local there in Minnesota, so that might have been a reason for the slow start. Now taking gears over to Topeka, this is, Topeka is a team where the Brahmas want to figure them out. And honestly, on paper, they're pretty much neck and neck during the games. And we saw proof of that this weekend. I mean, the Brahmas ended up going 1-1-1. The same result we saw against Topeka earlier this season. What do you think of the team's overall performance against the Capitals?
I was fairly pleased. Again, we played with a 16-man lineup the last 4 games of the trip, so the whole weekend in Topeka. And those 4 games, we went 2-1-1. So as a coach, I'm definitely pleased. At the time, I always, have to do a job of, emotional reactions after a loss. And then when I step back and really analyze it, it's better than it first seems. I was a little disappointed in the overtime loss. It was just a guy left open, and then a save that we'd like to kind of see happen more often than not. And that was just at that point we hadn't beaten them this season. And in looking back over the course of the season, Topeka, we've played them tough pretty much every game. Their coach, as a matter of fact, before the weekend, was mentioning how he says, I'll flat out tell you, he goes, I don't want to play you guys in the playoffs. So A, he's mentioning that, assuming that we're in, and 2, that he wants to avoid us. So, so that's a compliment. The guys battled hard with them, but I think it's been 4 games this season that we've had leads by 2 goals or more against Topeka, and we had yet to beat them. So it was very frustrating, but the guys battled hard. And the last game that we won in the shootout, again, they took a late lead. We had the lead. They scored to go ahead with 7 minutes left and pulled the goalie, drove the net, and buried one. And the guys rewarded themselves with an excellent shootout performance.
Well, speaking too of playoff performance, obviously this weekend, fast forwarding, is going to be a huge implication of the Brahmas' playoff hopes as they'll take on the Point Mallard Ducks this weekend in Alabama. So 3 straight huge road trips back on the road, leaving on Thursday, so extra day of travel for the Brahmas. I mean, just how big of a weekend is going to be against the Ducks. The team that's still ahead of the Brahmas in the standings. They only have 1 game sample against the Ducks this season, in which it was a 1-goal game, but I remember we talked, arguably it could have went the other way. There was just one mistake, and it just changed momentum there. Getting a goal in the final couple seconds. So this is a team, the Brahmas team, that knows how to answer the Ducks. So what's going to happen with a shortened lineup going on the road to take on Point Mallard?
Well, we'll dig deep. We did it against Topeka and came out and performed well, and I expect the same thing. Kurt Thiel, one of our big horses on the back end on the blue line, he's called up this weekend, so hats off to him. He deserves it. Hopefully he represents our team well at the NA level. I think he will. I think he's a huge difference maker for us. He'll definitely be missed, but it's a chance for other players in our lineup to step up. Daniel Skinner is a guy that's has been more towards the back end of on the defense depth chart. But he played well for us in Topeka, nice and steady. So this is a chance for him to make his impact on the lineup. And again, the onus, I always tell the team, is on us to play a 5-man defense and a 5-man offense. I'm expecting good things. I expect three tough games. Even with a full lineup, I don't think we blow them out. I don't think they blow us out. I got a chance to watch them firsthand up in Blaine, so there's not going to be a lot of surprises from them. And they have a potent offense, but I think we can expose them. So it'll definitely be interesting. We just got to try to stay healthy. That's where we don't have room for error.
I ask you every week too, but obviously, what's that one thing you're hoping to attack on this weekend? Is it power play? Is it just staying fundamental? Is it the guys kind of rising up?
Well, our power play is definitely something that's today actually at practice we're going to be focusing on, because our power play has been a difference maker for us this year in a bad sense. We're just not performing well on the power play, have never really gotten it going. Our penalty killing on the other side of that equation, I would match it up against any teams in the league. So it's a definite strength of ours. But the power play, if we can get some power play goals this weekend, I think we'll definitely see some points in the standings. We'll earn some points. If it stays flat, then it's going to make it that much more of a tougher road for us. But I think our thing is we have to play an attacking mindset, and at the same time not expose ourselves defensively, because they have some guys that could score. So we have to kind of minimize their chances and take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to ourselves.
Well, hopefully the Brahmas will bring it all in their A game this weekend against the Point Mallard Ducks. And actually, it's the last game until the second week of January. So Brahmas will have a bit of a resting period there for the holidays, but that'll do it for our coaches show. And we're going to come back with a player spotlight with Joe Hacker after this break. First Choice Emergency Room is the official emergency room of the NYTEC Sports Center in Lone Star, Brahmas. First Choice offers a new concept in emergency care, and they are the largest freestanding emergency room system. You can check in for your appointment online and see all of their locations by visiting fcer.com. They take care of us, so why not you? First Choice Emergency Room, really fast, 24/7, right in your neighborhood. Welcome back to the Players Spotlight. Nick Merrick here with goaltender Joe Hacker as the Brahmas heading up to Point Mallard this weekend. But talked with Coach beforehand. Got to ask you now, Joe. Obviously, had to be some different trip going half a day in a bus to get up to Blaine, Minnesota, have the NA3 showcase, finding some momentum there on the back end of the tournament. What was the trip overall like off the ice with the team?
It's a huge bonding experience for everybody. Like, it's, everybody's together the whole time. You get a lot, hang out with the boys a lot. It's different, but it's fun. It's when you have those games together, it's like you got to pull yourself together for a little bit. And then I think it's a little bit easier because you're already in the mood to play, because that's the only reason why you're there. So there's that. It was a good trip. It was a lot of fun. So.
What was it like trying to find that mix between fun and business?
I mean, like, once you're on the bus, pretty much going to the rink, that's when you really have to focus in and like pregame and all that stuff. But like, if the game's over and it went well, then you can sort of just relax, and that's what you look forward to. Just, you have to go there and get the job done. Then once the job's done, you could just relax and have fun. So.
Well, we kind of saw the Brahmas to develop throughout the 3 days in Blaine, Minnesota during the showcase. But obviously, sure, the first game wasn't how the team expected. It was a slower start. Caught behind early, but again, it just told Rooney, it's a team where they're basically a home game, and the Brahmas are traveling 16 hours to visit them. And then, but by that final game on Tuesday, Brahmas were playing pretty good hockey and back to where they were expected to, and what the team thought they were going to do and what coach thought they were going to do. I mean, talk to me a little bit about what kind of clicked in those 3 days that got some momentum going into Topeka.
I think, the first game we didn't play how we thought we could. Like, we didn't play how we know we could, basically. And going into it, like, we played a little bit better the second game, and we started to get momentum, knowing that, like, we could play how we could up there. And all the exposure and stuff, the first game you're really nervous, and everybody's, they're a little worried, like, stuff like that. But as you get on, you get more comfortable, and then you start to feel, a little bit better in your own game. And everybody started to play together by the last game, and sort of everything clicked, so.
And then obviously the extra road day too to head down to Topeka before actually coming back here to North Richland Hills. So I mean, it was a full 10-day stretch on the road, and then against Topeka, with the shortened lineup going away 1-1-1 on the weekend. Do you feel that was a victory? Do you feel like we made it work for that weekend? Could have gotten more, but now it's really just we got to end this end 2014 on a strong note.
Yeah, I mean, you always want the 6 points, but I feel like how what the road trip was, 10 days long, and everybody's beat up, and I'm really proud of like how everybody pushed through, and I think we got better as the weekend actually went on, and which is kind of impressive that like everybody just kept battling, and we ended up getting 2 points in the last game, but I think we came out on top still.
We're finding this team's starting to form their identity and really have a heart on the ice, and it's not a team that's going to fold under pressure. Now it's just finding who could push the gas pedal, so to speak. This weekend against Point Mallard, a good chance to possibly see that. I mean, the Brahmas and Ducks, the one game they played against each other was here. It was a loss, but it was a 4-3 loss. It was right there. A couple mistakes, the game goes the other way. It was just a battle of momentum. I mean, is that kind of the vibe in the locker room of getting ready for the Ducks?
Yeah, we know it's going to be a battle already. It was a really close game. We had those few little breakdowns which led to the loss, but I think we're a lot better team. We got new faces that are starting to gel together, and I think we'll be really prepared for it'll be a battle, but I think we'll come out on top here.
Well, Quentin Reynolds too was in net last time against Point Mallard. obviously, I'm assuming you're going to see at least sometime this weekend on the road. Have you kind of learned anything from him? Has he kind of told you anything to help out you and Tristan, or has Coach gone up with some more scouting sheets for you guys? What's kind of been this week in preparation?
It's mostly just, we talk to each other a little bit about, how that stuff plays out in the game and, like, what do you think about that stuff. He's obviously very talented, and, the competition there is really good. So, like, it's nice to have that friendly competition because we talk to each other and help each other out in that way. But, we know that it was a tight game, and it was, there's a few mistakes on the team's part, and, we have to, sort of do our jobs to help them out when they break down.
And how big would 2 wins, not even mentioned possibly a sweep, be against the Ducks?
It would be huge, especially going in the break. That would be a huge momentum shift. And then we have Dallas and Sugar Land coming up, which are going to be really good games too. So,
speaking of the break too, Joe, how much have you enjoyed your time here at Brahmas Land?
Oh, it's been a blast. It's so much different, but it's been a really fun time.
Not what you expected from Texas, see a rink like this in here?
Not at all. I was kind of doubting it, but the hockey environment and everything down here is crazy. I can't even describe it. It's crazy. It's really fun though.
And then we have the Brahmas will have a 3-week break heading until January 10th, the next game. And in fact, I think it is against the Ducks. So back-to-back playing time against them. But holiday season, what's going to happen with the Brahmas? What's the off-ice activities going to be after this weekend?
For me, I'll go home. I'll see the family and all that stuff, and just kind of relax for a few days and like let my body rest. And then I'll be back in the gym, and I'm gonna take all my gear home and skate with my goalie coach and do all that stuff, so I can sort of step my game up over the break instead of just relaxing and hanging out the whole time. So I want to stay on top of that, just keep getting better. So.
Do you feel that's what the whole team's pretty much doing, just more of the off-ice workouts, but taking it easy and letting the body rest before the second half of the schedule?
Yeah, I think that's mostly everybody's schedule for that. So just, especially after this 10 days, and then we have another 3 days so on the road, so your bodies are pretty beat up. So I think that's pretty much the plan.
Well, definitely a lot of traveling time for this Brahmas team, totaling over 40 hours on the bus in the last 3 weekends. But that'll do it for our coaches show. Joined with head coach Al Rooney and Joe Hacker. The Brahmas against the Ducks on the road this weekend. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see you next time.